Hello and welcome to the Reviews Brothers. I am back once again looking at Doom mods. I really don't think I'll ever get bored of trying out new ways to play Doom, and I can't believe how fresh it still is to me. I keep coming across new mods to try. Some are just level packs, some give you new weapons, enemies or game mechanics, and some will change the game completely. And once again I have a selection of random ones that I've been playing recently that you might also want to try. As always, there are links in the description below. So, how about I shut up, you press that subscribe button, and we take a look at some games. We are starting with Nightwatch. This is a single level mod that has a story. It's 3 AM, and normally people would be sleeping at this time, but not if you're Doom Guy. He's on the Nightwatch shift, and he has to make sure the demons of hell are held back while everyone is sound asleep. So this mod doesn't add anything new to the mix, it is a pretty simple single level mod. There are no new enemies, weapons or power-ups or anything like that. But what you do get is a solid single challenging level that's got some pretty cool music. The map sees you exploring a futuristic base that is packed with just about every enemy from Doom 2, though sadly there's no cyber demons or spider demon masterminds, which seems a little bit odd as literally every other enemy is here, but oh well. It is actually a really fun map though. You'll need to explore the base as well as its surroundings to do the usual Doom thing of finding keys, weapons and ammo until you find the exit switch, which did only take me about 5 minutes, which is a bit of a shame. Though I will say I did die a few times and have to restart the level before I made it through. That's mainly because, as with a lot of mods, there's plenty of areas where enemies will spawn in and you often have to move fast. Most of the time when you flip a switch or find a key or weapon, a number of tough enemies will spawn in, like Barons of Hell or Mancubus, or even the bloody Archvile. It can surprise you if you're not careful. But the map is fair with item placement and has a few secrets for you to find as well. It's nothing crazy, but it is a solid level that I enjoyed playing through, so I wanted to include it here. Worth checking out, and I hope the makers decide to make a whole episode. And while we're on the subject of single level mods, here is Gift for Doom 2. This is a really tough level that took me about half an hour to get through. There's no story really, it's just a map set in hell, and you have the very tough task of trying to find your way out. It's a large open level where you've got a number of cave systems, caverns and rocky islands, all surrounded by lava. As with your classic Doom, you'll need to find your way through, picking up keys and fighting off the hundreds of monsters. All 287 of them in fact. That's a lot for one level. And yep, most of them are the harder half of the enemy roster, so you really have to be on your toes. This is not an easy map. But I would say that it's fair. It does start you near the weaker enemies and you're encouraged to explore and find the weapons that are littered around. And of course you will get the shotgunners and chain gunners who are a pain in the ass in the dark areas, but killing them will at least let you grab their weapons. This is another level that relies heavily on trap sections. You'll be walking along minding your own business when suddenly a wall will open up revealing dozens of enemies, and it really is dozens. You have some massive battles here that seem more like the sort of thing you get in Serious Sam than a Doom game. But what's cool is that this mod does acknowledge that it's tough and you can find every weapon on the map, as well as rooms that are packed with ammo for every weapon as well. It is rare that you'll run out of ammunition here, but the sheer volume of enemies means you do have to be quite tactical. One area in particular was a real ball bag. There's about 20 Barons of Hell trying to kill you, and in the mix there's also a few Archviles, so you've got to make sure you take them out before they resurrect all your hard work killing the Barons of Hell. That part took me a good few retries. Thankfully there's also plenty of health and even invincibility items for you to collect. But even so, make sure you save often as you never know what's around the corner, and yes, you will meet more than one of every enemy type on this map, often when you least expect it. I had quite a few oh shit moments where I had to run away, but the level is actually really well designed and there were times where you get trapped in a room with no choice but to fight. Thankfully they always give you enough ammo to kill whatever's there. So yeah, if you're a Doom veteran and you want to try a challenging map, this is one that you definitely want to play. The last single level map we'll look at is Getting a Bottle of Water Simulator. This is a very simple mod. Doom Guy wakes up in the night and he's very thirsty. So your mission is to go get a bottle of water from the kitchen and then get back to bed and go back to sleep. Simple. So the level sees you exploring a house, trying to find a bottle of water. It's not a very big house, only 2 floors with a few rooms on each. Nothing you can't handle. And it can't be that hard to find a bottle of water, right? Well, as you're exploring, you'll find a few pieces of art on the walls that are references to various things, including the mod's creators. It won't take you long to find the bottle of water, but the eagle-eyed of you might also find a key laying around. And if you make it into the basement, you might just notice there's something not quite right. Then it's up to you. Do you take the water and go back to bed, or do you explore the house a little more to see if you can find where that key goes? Well, that's all I really want to tell you. You're going to have to try it for yourself if you want to find out what happens. Time for a mod with a bit more content now. This is Shockrooms. This is a really fun, fast-paced mod that gives you 30 new levels to play through. The whole premise is sort of based on the whole fear of liminal spaces thing that's kind of popular at the moment, but the mod itself isn't horror at all. In fact, it's just a really fun one that I would actually recommend to just about any Doom player, as it would be a good one for beginners as well. You get 30 very small levels, each of which can easily be beaten in just a couple of minutes. The theme in each one varies all the time. So 1 minute you're in a grey set of corridors, then you're in an outdoor alien garden area, next you're in a maze of fleshy faces. The idea is the same in all the levels, just find the exit. Here you don't actually need to even worry about keys or anything like that. You just need to figure out which one of the textures in each level is the door texture, as it's not the same between levels. Once you have that though, it's just a case of exploring these small mazes, killing everything you see and getting to the exit. And the killing of everything part is optional. The fact that the levels are so short and simple really helped actually keep my interest here, and it mixed things up enough to make you want to see what's next. There's nothing new added, you get the same enemies and weapons from the base game, and my only real complaint is that the enemies weren't really mixed up nearly enough. It's mostly zombie men that you're fighting, but at least it means you always have ammo. Other enemies are in here, but they're just not all that common. I would probably recommend adding the Brutal Doom mod to this as well, to spice it up a little. And really, that's all there is to say about this one. You'll be able to get through the whole thing in about an hour or so. Most levels took me less than 2 minutes to finish, and they don't really have any secrets or anything. It's just a case of opening every door, and you can't get lost as there's no keycards needed. You don't need to press any buttons to open things, and the map will always show you the doors that you haven't been in yet. But the fast-paced action really did make it a fun set of maps to play through, and I definitely recommend giving it a go. Next up is Chosen. This is a really cool mod that turns Doom 2 into an Egyptian tale. You are a sexy Egyptian woman and you've been chosen by some bloke called Seth to stop Apophis and Eurasius, who I'm assuming are all gods, and I've pronounced their names wrong. Basically, they're trying to destroy the world from within, so you've got to make your way through to the underworld to get them before they get out. You get 10 pretty unique levels here, all with their own Egyptian flavour. Well, all the ones I've seen anyway. I'm stuck on one of the bosses, but more on that later. The game features all new enemies, weapons and level textures. There were quite a few things I recognised from Exhumed or Power Slave, depending on where you're living, and I even expected that before I started playing, but it's definitely not a bad thing, as that game is awesome and the sprites and things used here are taken well and you don't really notice all that much. I'm not entirely sure where most of the enemies come from though, and they might be all new. You'll be fighting Anubis dog things, flying women who spin at you, scarab beetles of course, and sexy female archers. These enemies are basically on every level, and they're all a fair fight, but the flying women are a bit of a pain in the ass. They all look decent and remind me of the Ecstatica game if anyone's played that. I haven't thought about that game in years, and now I kind of want to play that again. I wonder if it'll work on my Steam Deck. Anyway, it's got a very unique style is what I'm trying to say, which isn't exactly impressive, but it does look good enough as it's very different. Interestingly, when you kill enemies, they fade away and their bodies don't stay on the stage, though that doesn't affect anything. You only get a handful of weapons in this mod, only 5. You've got a staff thing, which is your melee attack, which is fine, and it's actually pretty useful against some of the enemies like the Anubis dogs. You've got throwing axes, which are decent enough, but they don't have a great range on them, and they're not as powerful as your melee attack. What's also a bit annoying is that they stay on the floor after you've thrown them, but you can't pick them back up again. Then you get a bow, which is slow to fire, and the arrows actually do have physics where they won't just fly the entire length of the screen, so it can be hard to hit enemies with it, and it does take a while to fire. There's another magic staff, which does fire damage and is easily my favourite weapon. It's powerful and it fires fast. The last weapon is a scarab firing thing, which I don't really like, to be honest. It fires really fast and is powerful, but it uses ammo up really quickly, and it also has a crappy range and even hurts you if you bounce the scarabs off walls and they hit you. I only used it as a last resort, really. The levels are very unique here. You start out exploring a pyramid, then an ancient town, and eventually you make it onto a boat where you have to defend yourself while you're sailing to where you're off to, then some more towns and temples, and eventually an underground lair. The levels themselves aren't overly long, and they have the usual thing of needing to find keys and switches to open new areas until you find the exit. But the levels are relatively small and open, which actually makes exploring them really easy and fun. I never really found that I got lost, and usually had an idea of where I hadn't explored if I didn't know where I needed to go. There's also quite a few boss fights, and even a few cutscenes in here, which are really fun. Most things here are just a case of shooting it a lot, but it's also where I got stuck on one of the bosses. I made it to a snake boss, which is pretty near the end, and I just couldn't figure out how to beat it. All my shots just bounced straight off it, and I couldn't get close because it fired, well, fire, and it killed me almost instantly. I even tried using invincibility cheats, but still couldn't figure it out. So that's as far as I am so far, but still, I actually really enjoyed my time with this one. I do want to go back to see if I can figure it out. I'm sure there's a hidden switch or something I didn't find. It's also worth mentioning that the music here is excellent. It might well be from other games, I'm not too sure, I didn't recognise it, but I did really enjoy it. This one is a little ropey, but it is good fun and I definitely recommend playing it. Let's get spooky now. This is Resurrection of Dawn, a mod that turns the regular levels of Doom 2 into a survival horror nightmare, though it's not always a nightmare for the right reasons. Now I will say that this is a really interesting mod with some great ideas. You started off by choosing one of 3 classes, each of which has its own weapons, stats, and even determines the types of enemies that you see throughout the game. Then you just play through the regular Doom 2 levels with a survival horror twist. All of the enemies here have been replaced. Instead of the demons from the usual game, you get undead nurses, strange invisible beasts that fire goo at you, a ghost that can't be killed and will hunt you relentlessly through the levels, and if it touches you, it's almost instant death. It's bloody difficult. And to make things harder, you've got all new weapons, most of which are actually pretty good. You've got a variety of pistols, shotguns, machine guns, the usual. And they're effective, but ammo is incredibly scarce here, and you don't want to waste a single shot if you can help it. Also, weapons need to be reloaded, which is always done manually. Basically, you have to do everything yourself, which really helps with the survival horror style that they're going for. What's interesting here is that they have done a great job with the enemies. You only get a handful in each level, but they're all tough and hard to kill, which means that you will often just want to run away. Or if you do have to fight, you really do feel a sense of dread. Even though you've got weapons, you still kind of feel useless. I thought that as I was playing the regular Doom levels it wouldn't be a problem, because I know them, but that was not the case. They've really mixed it up well. But then that does bring me on to the issues that I do have with the mod, which I should say is still in its beta testing mode, so these might change for the final release, and I kind of hope it does. First of all, they've really slowed down your movement speed. Now I do understand why, but there isn't any form of run here, just a slow walk, which makes it hard to run away when you do see an enemy. They've also made it so you need to press a button to pick up items. Now this is fine really, but there's just not really any need for it. You don't have a limited inventory space, so why wouldn't you just want to pick everything up? Items are new here, most of which are food and ammo, and the food can be used whenever you want to restore some health, and I like that you can use it when you want to. I guess needing to press a button can make it more challenging if you're being chased by something, but I just found it a bit annoying. And then there's the main issue, which you may have already noticed. They've made everything incredibly dark, so you can barely see 3 feet in front of you, and on top of that they've put an annoying grainy filter over the game, so it's basically impossible to see anything here. This is annoying for a few reasons. I mean, not being able to see in any game is just annoying. They could really do with upping the brightness or getting rid of the crappy filter, go with one or the other. I did check the options, but couldn't really find any ways to make it any better. This means that most of the time you can hear enemies and will be attacked by them, but often have no idea where they actually are, so basically have no choice but to die. This is especially bad if the ghost enemy finds you. It can't be killed, and if you get too close to it, then it basically just attaches itself to you and kills you in just about a second. But if you can manage to shoot it, then it will fly away, and you've got to hope you just don't see it again. Now on paper that's actually a brilliant mechanic that makes things really spooky, but the fact that you can almost never see the damn thing until you're close enough to activate it makes the whole thing almost a bit redundant. And it's a real shame, because the few times where I could see a bit, the mod had a really great spooky atmosphere where I genuinely would open doors and pray there was nothing in there, as I'd only have a few bullets in my gun. But the fact that you do die incredibly easy and most of the time will have no idea what killed you or where means that it's just more frustrating than fun at the moment. Now I will be keeping an eye on this one though, as I really hope that some of the playtesting is being done and in future updates they fix some of the issues that I have with the game. Although it is entirely possible that I'm just playing it wrong and I suck. In the meantime though, I actually do think you should try this one out to see if it is just me. Knowing my luck, I just didn't realise that there's a flashlight button or something. I did look, but didn't see one. But anyway, give it a go and let me know what you reckon. Next up is Hybrid. This is a mod that changes Doom into a pretty obscure PS1 first-person shooter. The story here is simple. You're on a mission to save Earth after aliens invade. You can choose to play as one of 4 characters, and they each have access to different weapons and special abilities that you'll need to take on the aliens' robot army, as well as a number of human and mutant monsters that also want you dead. You'll be exploring quite a lot of large, complex levels where you'll need to find keys to make it to the exit. You know the drill. As with most first-person shooters of the era, they're often quite cryptic as to where you need to go. There's hidden areas and monsters all over the place, and some levels can take a while to get through. And as you've probably spotted by now, it actually looks quite cool. All the textures are new, well, not really new as they're taken from the PS1 game, and the enemies now are actually 3D models instead of 2D sprites. You get a number of robot enemies which all move smoothly, though they do look a bit basic in design, which isn't a fault of the mod, it's exactly what they look like in the original game, only they look better here, believe it or not. And speaking of enemies, it is often hard to avoid their attacks. This is due to regular narrow corridors and tight spaces where you don't have time to strafe. Even when you do though, you usually still take a hit because you seem to have a massive hitbox. The different characters can help to mix things up, even if they do basically all the same levels. Some can use magic, and they all have different movement speeds, and weapons actually work differently for each one as well. So with one character your gun might shoot slowly but do more damage, whereas with others the same weapon is less powerful but has a faster rate of fire. There are a surprising amount of weapons in the game as well, and if you want to see them all, you're going to need to play through with all of the characters. I'm not sure you're going to want to do that though. The difficulty here is pretty high, mainly for bullshit reasons. Firstly, the aiming doesn't really feel precise, and hitting enemies is actually quite tough, especially the flying ones. And on top of that, ammo is pretty scarce, and you rarely have enough, and you have to resort to your fists. And I'm not sure if you've ever tried punching a robot that has laser cannons for arms to death, but I can tell you it's not ideal. So really, this mod is kinda good and bad. Technically, it's a really good, faithful adaptation of the PS1 game, and thanks to being in the Doom engine, it actually looks and plays way better than that version ever would. It's just that it's a port of a game that isn't particularly good to begin with. I'd probably say that most people will be put off by the cheap difficulty and crappy level design, but if you think it looks good, then knock yourself out. Next is Isosceles. This is a mini mod that only has 5 levels. The story goes that far out at sea there is a research portal that takes you to strange places, all of which are filled with monsters, so you know what to do. Kill them all and explore these strange levels that are there. Now I have to say the 5 levels here are really well made and lots of fun to play through. As is common with mods, they're all pretty damn hard. Each level has hundreds of enemies, traps and secrets to get through. Yes, your aim is to find keys and get to the exit, but these levels are really like no others that I've seen. I do like the designs a lot here. You start out on an island and you make your way through jungles into strange worlds that are basically islands in the sky. They're all very unique, and even though there's only 5 of them, it did take me a while to get through them all. Most of what's here is classic Doom. All the enemies, items and weapons you find are from the base game. But there's plenty of textures and props from other games like the trees, grass and clouds. I don't know for sure, but some look like they were made specifically for it. Each level is large and you'll fight hundreds of monsters on each one. This is not an easy mod at all. though there were times where it was a bit annoying as I just didn't have enough ammo to deal with most of the monster types. At points I would have a shotgun and a handful of shells, only for 3 Barons of Hell to teleport in, and I'm not terrible at Doom, so it wasn't like I was wasting ammo, but these bits were damn hard. But I do kind of think I know why this is. The mod is littered with berserk packs, so really what you should be doing is using your fists as much as possible on every level, and reserve your weapons for all enemies, like the Hell Knight and above. Zombie men and imps should be just taken down with your fists. I did also find myself trying to get enemies to fight each other as much as I could, until I died for the 100th time and I just punched in IDFA. I did force myself to look for keys at least. But even as a dirty cheater, I really enjoyed this map pack and still had trouble on most of the levels thanks to the sheer number of enemies. One of the last levels in particular was very tough, but also really damn fun, as you'd be fighting 50 or so enemies at once, which is always a good thing in Doom. Especially here with these strange backdrops and the level design, it felt very unique. Now, to be fair, the later levels do a good job of giving you plenty of ammo, and it doesn't make things much easier. The only thing I was a little disappointed with is that there was no boss at the end. It just kind of finishes quite unceremoniously. I would have been happy even if it was just a cyber demon or something. It was a bit of a shame. But still, this is a really great short mod that packs a hell of a punch into its 5 levels, and you should definitely try it out. Next up is Volt Lazer Synthesis. This is a really great mod that gives you a whopping 35 levels to play through, with each one getting harder and harder, and boy, this is a tough mod. The story goes that after Doom 2, but before Doom 64 according to the readme file, Doom Guy finds a strange portal with a purple hue to it. He goes to take a look, but gets sucked into another dimension where the UAC is actually run by demons. And in fact, in this strange parallel world, demons are actually your regular citizens. Thankfully, there's a pistol on the table in front of you, so you get to work. The mod takes you all over a strange neon world, through science labs, towns, nightclubs, public transport and more, and there really is a lot to get through. It features all new weapons. You get a much better pistol here, which has a greater rate of fire. You get a techno shotgun, a rocket launcher, machine gun, laser rifle, and more. Though I am stupid and just realised that I probably should have put in the all weapons cheat just so I could try them all out. But I really do try to play these without cheats. Anyway, the enemies here are a mix of the usual ones, as well as reskinned versions of them. So for example, you now get blue pinky demons, which take a lot more damage, and there's also black lost souls, which are also tougher. As well as this, imps now wear leather jackets and have mohawks. It's awesome. There's also new enemies like robot spiders. These are a pain in the ass and fire lasers at you like absolute bastards. The level design here is fantastic. The whole thing has been given a cool neon look with some really great use of colour and lighting. You'll visit an incredibly varied number of places, and single levels can easily take nearly an hour to beat, though not because they're too convoluted. In fact, I would say that the level design is perfectly fair and good, but the levels are large and just difficult. There are dozens of enemies in every stage, and sometimes the large open design means that the hit scanning enemies, especially the fucking chain gunners, will just annihilate you at times. Often you won't even have a clue where they're shooting you from either. On top of that, this mod does seem to have a distinct lack of health kits, so make sure you save often. The lighting did also cause me trouble in some places, especially the nightclub level, which took me forever to get through. The lighting makes it hard to see enemies, and of course they have no problem seeing you, so I died a lot. I really should have just used cheats to get through. I have to say though, something that definitely made me want to keep playing is the music, which is awesome. It's a great mixtape of synthwave stuff. I did recognise some of it, so I'm pretty sure some of them are taken from other games, but that doesn't matter, I love synthwave. I've only gotten to level 8 so far, but I really have to say how impressed I've been with everything I've seen. Most of them have nods to other games, usually in the name of them, and the unique design really made me want to see what was next. Though I think the difficulty on this one might be a bit high for me, so I might need to start again and drop it down a bit because I'm a little pussy. After all, 35 levels is a lot to get through. And finally for today, here is the mystery of Tyskie Island. It's 1912 and you are Frank Masur, an Austro-Hungarian soldier that one day on a trip to Guinea washes ashore a mysterious oceanic island. Soon enough, you realise that this island used to be a peaceful place filled with people, until a dictator named Pika moved in and turned it into a police state in which everyone has to be perfectly like Pika wants them to be, or they'll be sent to a murderous machine known as CREC-001 or tortured. So it's up to you to travel through the archipelago and talk to Pika, or just shoot him in the head. This is another mod that changes most things up, featuring all new weapons, enemies, and some pretty huge levels, all of which are connected with some pretty good storytelling. As soon as this one started, I knew I was going to enjoy it. You're on a strange island and you find your way through until you get to a town that's been overrun with bastard commies. Most of the enemies here are human and seem to be from other games in some instances, I believe. What's interesting is some are quite cartoony, whereas others are digitized sprites. It's a bit of a jarring mix, but I kind of like it. You also have a few animal enemies to deal with, like dogs and bats, and maybe even some stranger things later on. And yes, you have some cool weapons to fight them with, though not many. You get a pistol, 2 shotguns, a single and double-barreled one, an axe, and a Tesla electric weapon thing, and that's it. Now don't get me wrong, the weapons are all perfectly good and fun to use. I just like it when you have dozens of weapons to choose from. The enemies here are tough as well, and sometimes you'll find yourself very low on ammo for most weapons. As always with Doom mods, it's not easy, save often. Now we have to talk about the levels, which are actually great. They're all large and pretty open, and often the puzzles in them are tricky, and finding what you need to do can be hard, with some giving you actual objectives rather than just finding the exit. But I did find that I enjoyed exploring, and it's definitely encouraged, so you find the hidden areas with more ammo that you'll definitely need. There's also loads of great detail everywhere. Houses look lived in, swamps look suitably appealing, and the design of buildings seems natural and makes sense. It's not just a bunch of random corridors and rooms slung together. You can really tell this is a mod that's had a lot of proper thought put into it. And the amount of story is really good as well. You get regular cutscenes that explain what's going on and why the town needs to be liberated. And then something happens that I don't want to spoil, which explains why everyone is so keen to take control of the island. In fact, I don't want to show much footage past the 3rd or 4th level, as it was really cool to see the things that just appeared and where the story went. So yes, this is another really great mod for Doom 2 that I highly recommend. It's challenging and looks fantastic, has some great levels and just a really good time. It's the kind of mod you could see getting released on Steam as a standalone game, kind of like Wrecker and things like that. Definitely one to play. So there you go, even more Doom mods that you might want to try. I've covered over 50 mods now, so if you don't see your favourite here, go check out the other videos in this series, as it's probably in there. And yes, that includes Ashes, so you don't have to recommend that one again. I've covered it. But do tell me your suggestions for what Doom mods I could include in the future, as this is a pretty regular series for me. I play Doom almost every week, so I'm always looking for new mods to play. On screen now you can see where you can follow me, so why not do so? I've got loads of great content for everyone to enjoy. And now all that's left for me to say is thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.